We are actively having lots of people jumping on right now, so let's just give it another second until I feel like we've slowed down a little bit. Hope you all are having a lovely Valentine's Day Eve. I tried to be as festive as possible today. Hope you all are dry across the state of Tennessee. We have had quite a bit of rain here in the Chattanooga Valley here lately, so hope all is well. All righty, friends. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We have a little bit newer way to get registered. So you may have to re-register and then it sends you the link right after that. So as we're getting adjusted to the new way of jumping on our webinars, we appreciate you all for being here and hanging with us for just a moment. But welcome everyone to our grant opportunity conversation around grants for our Tennessee summer meal sponsors. My name is Marissa Spady, and I'm a senior manager on the No Kid Hungry Tennessee campaign. And I am joined today by two of my colleagues, Maisha Coggins, who is also supporting Tennessee and South Carolina and several of our other states to further the work of No Kid Hungry, as well as my colleague, Adeline. Addie will be sharing a little bit more as she is part of our grants team. So together, we're going to tag team our efforts here today, and we're glad that you're able to join us to get some questions answered and next steps. All right. All right, for those of you who are unfamiliar with us, No Kid Hungry is a state campaign of a national nonprofit organization called Share Our Strength. And our goal is to help end childhood hunger, not only here in Tennessee, but also across the United States. We're focused on ending childhood hunger through expanding access to the federal child nutrition programs, such as school meals, summer meals, after-school meals, the SNAP and WIC programs as well, and really still trying to work on having summer EBT implemented again this year. Unfortunately, it has not been opted into just yet, but we are continuing to lift that up to our legislators and partners across the state because we know that was a huge asset to complement our summer meals this past year. So still working on that, and we'll keep you updated. All right. So as a nonprofit organization and through our No Kid Hungry campaign, how do we work to help support you all as you are in the process of trying to end summer hunger and hunger throughout the year for our children? There are several ways in which No Kid Hungry is here to help support you all on the ground. Number one being grants. So here we are today. We'll talk to you a little bit more about how you can apply for a grant to expand your summer meal operation to help launch and fuel and improve your meal programs and run more efficiently to feed more children. In addition to that, we often do research programs to allow for additional people to pilot programs across the country so that we can learn about new and improved ways to reach our underserved communities. And then once we allow them to do that, we document and then share that information out with you all. There's no need in reinventing the wheel, that's for sure. In addition to that, we do like to help raise awareness of these programs and meals, both locally, state, and nationwide, so that families are aware of where meals are and when they can access those. In addition to that, we also do trainings and webinars where we take best practices that we found from across the country to share back out so that schools and community organizations can best meet and reach and serve as many children as possible in their local communities. We also have a team up in DC where our organization is headquartered that are working on the government relations and advocacy teams. So we take what we hear on the ground from you all about what's happening and how the regulations and rules are being impacted in ways in which that you can expand and serve that particular group of kids with that child nutrition program. So want to make sure that you all your voices are being heard and we're lifting those up as best we can. Slide. So before we get any further, let's talk a little bit more about why we're here today. The ultimate reason is because of the children. Unfortunately, 1 in 6 children in Tennessee may experience food and hunger and food insecurity. Summer is often the hungriest time of year for many of our students who rely on school breakfast and lunch. And when school is closed for the summer and they may not be able to attend summer school, or summer school only goes until June, summer can be a really hungry time for these kids. And we want to make sure that they receive the healthy, delicious foods that they need to continue to grow and be healthy adults, and just be active and ready for that next school year. And we believe that the summer meal program is a wonderful opportunity to continue to make sure that that nutrition gap is closed during the summer months. And we believe that our Tennessee summer meal sponsors are truly the backbone of helping reduce childhood food insecurity during those summer months. And we're here to offer support to you all as best we can. Next slide. So 3 things that are going to matter today. Number 1, children in Tennessee have depended on you this past summer, and you all were there for them. And for that, we thank you. You all do an amazing job. Tennessee is one of the great performing states in serving summer meals, but unfortunately, there is still more work to be done to really achieve the vision of a No Kid Hungry here in Tennessee. And today the planning is started. In fact, many of you have probably already started. In fact, I know they have because I've talked to many of you already, but just know that you are not alone and that we are all here to help support you. Next slide, please. All right, so through many of our partnerships, our teams of experts, our network of consultants, we try to provide program assistance and support by both phone, email, and our monthly calls that we offer, in which we can support one another as a unified group. We have a team that helps us to clarify and better understand USDA guidance, and then we provide that guidance back out on the federal child nutrition programs. We try to help support each of our sponsors as they are strategizing plans for meal service and what that might look like, whether it be looking at menu options, better understanding what is the most efficient way to get meals out, thinking about their meal distribution model, adding a new model, changing the model, and looking at, taking into consideration what their staffing, their communication and marketing look like, and how can we partner with other folks across the country or across the state. We also want to relay those best practices and lessons learned from various organizations and districts across the state and across the country. I will share with you in a short bit about an upcoming webinar series that we will be hosting on a national level, but that we hope will be very beneficial to you all here in Tennessee as well. We also want to work with you to help troubleshoot any challenges and help to identify solutions that might be beneficial to reaching as many kids as possible. And we want to connect you with peer-to-peer support. Knowing who has done what in various parts of the state can also be a great opportunity to learn from colleagues to duplicate or replicate their initiatives as well. So we're excited to have that opportunity to do that with you all. All right, with that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Addie, and so she can give us a little more detail on what our granting priorities are for summer 2025 and ways in which you will be able to apply for the grant. Addie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Marissa. I will say before I get started, Marissa did highlight that Tennessee is one of our stronger performing states, and having worked with the campaign for a number of years that I have been, I can truly attest to that. You all are doing incredible work, and we're excited to continue to support you all through this grant opportunity. So as she mentioned, our efforts is to expand rural non-congregate summer feeding for programs operating under SFSP or the Seamless Summer Option SSO within rural communities. More specifically, we're seeking to help sponsors expand their reach of non-congregate meal programs in high priority communities. And we define high priority communities um, for those impacting communities facing high or persistent poverty and or historic and current inequities, such as immigrant, migrant, indigenous, tribal, Latino, and Black communities. So as you can see in this slide, it covers some of our equity priorities as well. So feel free to take a look at that as well for some of our additional priorities. Next slide, please. So how can we implement summer strategies for the grant program? So here you have a list of different ways that you can support your summer efforts through the grant. This could be for new sponsors who haven't previously been serving non-congregate meals that are launching a program that are serving meals in new areas with identified gaps in service. So looking for new pioneers in the space that are looking to reach communities that haven't been receiving access yet to summer meals. This also includes existing sponsors who are adding new congregate meal sites or increasing accessibility of existing sites by keeping sites open for additional hours, increasing the number of meals being served, shifting hours in some way to support community needs, or overall enhancing site locations. Other ways are leveraging non-congregate models that have been demonstrated to be more effective at reaching kids. This includes home delivery and mobile route distribution. And I encourage folks to reach out to Maisha and Marissa on additional models that may help support that as well, while also maximizing program operations to serve the maximum allowable number of meals each week for the duration of the summer. And I know Marissa will touch a little bit more about what the weekly distribution could look like later in this presentation. Next slide. So these are typical things that we won't be able to support under the grant opportunity. So those are requests that seek to maintain existing non-congregate programs with no plans to expand whatsoever. We want to make sure that we're reaching as many kids as possible this summer. So if your proposal does not include any sort of expansion in some way, shape, or form, we may ask you to kind of review your process and either reach out to our team to see ways you may be able to take advantage of some expansion efforts. Any funding to support congregate summer meal programs, sort of self-explanatory. We're looking to focus on non-congregate for this grant opportunity. Any funding to eliminate student meal debt. Supplies and equipment needed to support food access programs that's not associated with federal school nutrition programs, such as school gardens, farms, school pantries, backpack programs, etc. Or any supplies or equipment or funding to support school building or any capital investments. So any larger pieces like cafeteria designs, something that I see a lot, or anything outside of summer rural or non-congregate. Next slide, please. So this is just some information for you all in terms of grant award amount and kind of review timeline. Because we all believe in the work that you're all doing, we don't feel it's necessary to give you all award amount or maximum of what you should be applying for, but we'll say that grant amounts will vary depending on the size and need of each applicant. So we're more than willing to work with you all in terms of what your proposal is and how we can support that based on the budget that you submit. Please ask for what you need, and we can always work with you to try to see what's most effective for your program. Grant inquiries, will be accepted on a rolling basis through April 11th, and then at which point our team will reach out if your grant funding is available for the program that you submit through the inquiry form, and then we'll provide details for how you complete an application. I encourage folks to review the inquiry form. It's sort of a pre-application process that we have to help not only save you all time for completing a full application, but also help us understand a little bit about what your program is before we ask you or invite you to complete a full application. Next slide, please. So a little bit of information of what you can expect to be asked on the application based on whether you're a school or school district versus a community organization. I will say for both, oh, and thank you, Maisha. I just saw that she linked the inquiry form in the chat, so please take a moment to review that as well. But for both school district and community organization, overall, we'll be asking what description of your program objectives for the grant that you're applying for. We'll be asking about info of your current and planned nutrition programs for the summer term, a detailed budget of what you're requesting grant dollars for. And I will encourage folks to provide as much breakdown of the costs that you're requesting as much as possible, so we can understand how these numbers are coming together. You know, if there are staffing costs, break down the hourly wages, how many weeks you're expecting to have these folks work with you during the summer. If you're requesting for equipment, if you have any like vendor invoices that can be shared, that would be helpful as well, just to give our team a better sense of what your needs are and how we can best support that. And also for both school district and community organizations, we want to know what strategies you'll be using to elevate and address any needs of people of color in your community as part of our equity priorities that we mentioned earlier. For school districts specifically, we'll be asking for your district's food service directors and superintendent's contact information, as well as historic district-wide enrollment and school meal participation data. For community organizations, we'll be asking for demographic information, such as the estimated number of free and reduced eligibility, as well as the internal makeup of your board of directors, what your leadership looks like, your staff, and your volunteers as well. So this kind of gives us a sense of how you are as an organization, how you operate, but also the impact you're proposing to make and who you're targeting. Next slide, please. These are a few granting myths that we hope to bust through this process, because we know how grants could be. I was a grant writer before I joined the organization, so I can understand some of the stressors and the barriers that grant writers usually face with these things. So I will say, please do not be afraid to ask questions as you're filling out the application or going through the grant process. There's no dumb question. Please feel free to ask anytime, at any point throughout the process. It's better to always provide more details than fewer details. So you can tell us everything you'd want to know. We are sitting in the same room as you. That way, you all can feel comfortable with us, so we can establish a relationship outside of just sort of this transactional grant opportunity that's providing for us. It's 100% okay, and I'll even add additional zero to that. It's 1,000% okay if you build out your plans as you're writing the application. We just want to have a general sense of how you use your funds, but we always know that plans can change. We know state agency sometimes changes their rules and regulations at times, but always feel free to be transparent with us, and we'll work with you to kind of draft a strong proposal. Be honest, and I will put a fake bold or italicize or asterisk around this about what's going on, so we can better assist you. Don't tell us what you think we would want to hear, because I think it just does you a disservice of kind of where you're at. We want to make sure that we're supporting you as much as we can and providing any additional capacity that you may need in that sense. It's okay to ask to complete your application on the phone with a No-Kid Hungry representative. Again, we want to make this process easy for you. We also have other ways of helping you fill out the application. We have templates of the application if you'd like to see it beforehand, before you apply. That way you can kind of get a rough view of what the application will look like, the sort of questions we'll be asking, and that sort of thing. I know that was a lot of information, but yeah, happy to stay on for any questions. But I believe I'm passing over to Marissa now.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Addie. As I've built relationships with many of you on the call, you all know firsthand, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. And if I don't know the answer, I will happily pass it along to Addie, and our grants team. But I've had the privilege of getting to work with you all now for close to 5 years and have had the opportunity to come and see many of your operations on the ground and in awe of all the great, amazing work that you all do. Um, One of the things that I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of is the fact that, when the law went into place effective summer 2023, USDA had created a much less inclusive map that was considered rural versus non-rural, and which meant that you could participate in the non-congregate opportunity. With that being said, they heard much of the challenges that we faced in 2023 getting sites approved, and therefore this past summer they created an updated rural designation map. And this link, I think, I think Maisha may stick in the chat for us, but this is a great opportunity for you if you are, thinking of doing rural non-congregate for the very first time, just to verify. Number one, you need to make sure that your site is area eligible. So it's got to be that 50% or higher free reduced eligible. Number one. But number two, is it rural? And this map would allow you to put in your address of the site, whether it's a school, a community org, a church, a park, wherever that you were thinking about doing distributions. You can put that address in and it will automatically tell you yes or no whether or not it is considered rural in doing that. So as you will see, the large majority of our state is considered rural. In fact, I believe there is a little piece of rural in every single county across our 95 counties in Tennessee. Even in our largest Shelby County, Davidson, Knox, and Hamilton, there are little areas, and I've talked to sponsors who are thinking of going in each of those counties for the very first time. So those are the things that we're excited to hear about, ways in which we can figure out where the pockets are, where are the children that truly are getting missed on this opportunity to receive these meals and have that access to those. So that's what we're really trying to focus on. So I just want to encourage you to take some time to dig into your map a little bit, thinking about, your free and reduced eligibility. We also have the capacity builder map that USDA provides that can also provide some census data for you to double check to make sure that it is area eligible as well. Next slide. In addition to the USDA capacity builder map, No Kid Hungry has created a new rural summer meal coverage map, very much similar to the capacity builder map, but does look in a little bit different direction as well into underserved communities. So as you can see, the sites that were populated for summer 2024 are on the map here, and you are able to, zoom in, figure out where there might be counties that weren't listed. Now, I know that some sites didn't necessarily get put on there. I know for a fact that Giles County had, I think, 8 sites last summer, and for some reason it was not on the map. So that may be the case for several of these other sites, or counties and communities as well. So use this as a minimal guide. And then if you have questions, I'm happy to have conversations about areas that you're interested in exploring. But this will give you an idea of the underserved communities. We have quite a few in that darker reddish pink color, you'll see. The ones that are not considered rural are going to see those white splotches. So again, it's hitting Shelby County, Davidson, Knox, and Hamilton the most, but those white splotches are going to be areas that are considered not rural. So anywhere outside of that, which is the large majority of the state. Okay, next slide. Just wanted to share a little bit about who some of our sponsors were from last year. Last year, we were able to grant a little over $200,000 to 17 different organizations across the state of Tennessee. And by far and large, I got to visit quite a few of you all last summer, and I saw some amazing work being done, some very creative ways in which meals were being served, and a lot of very thankful families. So appreciate all of you all for all the great work that you do day in and day out. With that being said, as you're thinking about your plans for summer 2025, did want to share a little bit about what that might look like in terms of how do I expand my operation, and what direction am I going? And that typically does involve some sort of transportation, especially for those of you who are looking to move into new communities that have never been reached before, or even new counties that have never been reached before in the non-congregate setting. As you'll see here, there's some of our friends from the Athens McMinn YMCA. They poked into Polk County last year and had the opportunity to go visit them, and they had used their refrigerated or retrofitted their trucks with their refrigerated option in the back. So that was one. And then we have Southwest HRA on a very, very rainy July day in which we got drenched, but their refrigerated truck was much needed to be able to carry the meals that they were serving to Wayne County, where we were able to get that set up in the library, the 3 libraries there in Wayne County. So that was exciting. Next slide. Also on my trip out west, I had the opportunity to visit with the Memphis YMCA, and they had received some funding to help with marketing and promotional materials, and almost got in an accident as I was driving down the highway to take a picture of one of their billboard signs. And they did a great job of getting their word out, because they're not necessarily wise in some of these more rural communities. So explaining who and what they were and what they were doing and how to get that information about where they would be serving was really important to them. In addition to, once you get the name out and they figure out where you're going to be, how do you direct them? Those yard signs do come in handy at times to help make sure folks feel comfortable and aware of what's coming next. So just wanted to share a couple of examples that I had some pictures of. And then next up was thinking about your meal service supplies. Coolers, it's hot here in Tennessee in the middle of the summer, and how do we keep food at proper temperatures? And so whether it be coolers, insulated bags, cooler packs, maybe you are doing boxed meals and, needing those t-shirt bags to bag up multiple days worth of meals is, really beneficial for a lot of our families. So, and definitely needed for our sponsors to be able to put all those meals together for, the 7 days in which they're able to serve those. So just wanted to share a few examples from the ground. All right. So I don't know if many of you had the opportunity to attend the DHS Summer Nutrition Summit back in January, but their theme for this year's summit was Zero Hunger in Tennessee. And as we think through ways in which we can all move towards zero hunger in our own communities, we wanted to offer some more detail on what it could look like to end summer hunger across the state. One of which was if you live in a county or you serve a county that there were and you're eligible to serve rural non-congregate, starting it for the first time would be a great start. And so definitely would encourage you to apply if that be the case your very first time. If, however, you have been serving meals, maybe that means adding additional. So, for example, some of our school districts may serve just the month of June. So if you are taking it upon yourself this year to extend your summer service into the entire month, the entire summer break, that would be another example of ways to help end summer hunger in your community by offering it for longer weeks in the summer. If you are only offering, 3 or 4 days worth of meals, extending that to cover all 7 days of the week, including breakfast and lunch. So 14 meals at a time, or it can be broken down into 3 and 4 day meal distributions. I know, I think Miss Kathy's on here, but she does a 3-day and a 4-day. On Tuesday, she gives out 3 days worth of meals, and on Friday, she gives out 4 days worth of meals. So with that being said, thinking through all your logistics, and this is the planning piece that, we're happy to help support or connect you with another sponsor who's already accomplished something similar to this. But this would be one of those examples. With that being said, sending home non-congregate meals for the weekend, for example, if you're a Boys and Girls Club or you service a Boys and Girls Club, offer VBS, any camps or summer school, and you have served those children on site for congregate, you could potentially send home non-congregate meals to cover the rest of the weekend or the days that they aren't on site for congregate settings. So that would be another example. Also, to be more efficient with our time, I think we had an example in South Carolina where a particular sponsor had an exorbitant amount of sites, and unfortunately, there were only, 5 to 10 children at each site. And so, in her thought process, it was like, let's consolidate all of these sites to a more centralized location so that, it was more efficient for her to be able to use a mobile route to get to those locations for those families, and just making sure that communication is very clear so they know where meals are able to be picked up. Another option is to think through the lens of a family who is going to receive these meals. And no matter what you're doing, I would hope and encourage that you would do that anyways. But when we think about the end user, we want to think through our distribution model. And if you can think through a certain community or a certain population of families in your county or in your service area that may not be able to get to a grab and go site, or they may not be able to, get to the school or whatever the case may be. Maybe you could consider doing a couple different models. So maybe you do a grab and go site in particular areas and you have an opportunity for home delivery. If you are going to do home delivery, I do, of course, with anything that's being said, make sure that you go through your state agency for approvals, of course, but just think outside of the box a little bit and know that, one size doesn't necessarily fit all. So thinking through being able to make sure that all children would have access to meals in your service area. Another great idea that we have heard that has worked well is extending your time of pickup. Some folks have, instead of just a 1 hour time frame, they have extended it to 2. They have also shifted those times because if we're trying to, we know children can't drive. So if parents are the ones who are working during the day or whoever their guardian is can't get there during that particular time, shifting it to later in the day has proven to be a good opportunity for some sponsors to be able to serve meals then. And even on a weekend, I know some of our YMCAs have served on Saturdays because we know most people, not all, may be more able to get out on a Saturday than during a workday week. So I'm just thinking through a lot of different opportunities. And then, of course, adding any new sites in any areas that you may find that have not had any non-congregate service. So looking at those maps, I'm happy to have really enjoying all of that, playing with the maps. So just wanted to offer any support we can give on identifying some new locations. A couple of things that we've been doing is trying to offer webinars and presentation to different groups. Just recently, I've presented to the cooperative extension agents here across the state of Tennessee. We're getting ready to host a library webinar because those are our partners in the community who may never have heard of summer meals. We know there's a lot of turnover in various jobs, and we just want to make sure that folks are fully aware. And so that's part of our goal, is to help them come looking for you sometimes. So if they're aware, they can help promote and advertise the fact that you do have meals, or maybe at some point they might become a site under you as well. And ultimately, that means more children are getting fed across the state. So we will continue to be your biggest supporters, your biggest advocates, and we will continue to talk about all the great work that you're doing. Next slide. With that being said, one of the things that we have started, and it has started mostly with our community-based organizations, but we would welcome any of our school nutrition directors to join us as well, as we've started, well, it's 4 years deep now, and we've built some really great bonds and connections across the state. But we have started the Tennessee Child Nutrition Sponsor Gathering. It is open to any sponsor of SFSP or SSO. It is a 1 hour window between 10 a.m. Eastern to 11 a.m. We meet virtually. It is typically the third Wednesday of every month. So our next meeting will be on February 19th at 10 a.m. Eastern. We would welcome anyone to join us on that call. It's a great opportunity. DHS will typically have someone on the call to answer any questions or updates. And it's a great opportunity for folks to ask questions amongst each other. We may have a speaker of the day, may have some new resources, information on the grants are typically on there. But a great opportunity to talk to your colleagues, to learn about anything new, a new vendor, a new food item, new menu items. It's a great opportunity. So we'd love to have you join us if you're interested. With that being said, on a national level, it's a huge commitment of No Kid Hungry to continue to share best practices and offer resources and information to those sponsors on the ground. And so we are starting a national rural non-congregate webinar series that is going to kick off on Thursday, March 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And the title of this first one is Expanding Your Reach, Planning Your Rural Non-Congregate Summer Meals session. We will have a couple of our staff from the No Kid Hungry team, in addition to a couple of sponsors. One, I believe, is from Georgia and one is from New York. One is school nutrition director, and then the other, obviously, is a YMCA. That is this community-based organization. So we will be sending a copy of the recording of our session today, as well as the inquiry form, all of the resources that you're seeing, and the registration where you can sign up to join this webinar that will also be recorded. So you can watch it on your time, works best for you. All right, next slide. And one of the other things that we've kind of identified having come together with our sponsor gathering is that sometimes, and then looking at the data and hearing what's happening on the ground, is the fact that, we want to make sure that all counties are covered the entire summer for non-congregate or regular congregate sites. It really doesn't matter on that front. But I think some of the challenges that some of our community organizations may have is they're not fully aware of what some of our schools are particularly doing during the summer months. And so trying to facilitate some better communication between our schools and community organizations so that we can truly have a united front to help end summer hunger here in Tennessee is really our goal. And so making some introductions, I've made a couple today already, but just wanting to provide some opportunity for where one may end, another may start, or maybe there's an area of a community that can't be reached by the district, and how can we, support each other and work together. So if you want to take a moment, if you are either a school nutrition department or a community-based organization, you can use the QR code to fill out just a brief synopsis of what your plans are for summer and whether or not you'd be willing to partner with the community org in your area. Feel free to take a moment to do that, and we'll be sending this out as well in the email. We'll go into the next. I think we're almost to the end, and here is my email if you don't have it, as well as help for our grants help desk as well, if that's ever a need that you may have. But I'm probably your quickest response to know who you are, what's going on, and if we need to pull in Addie or somebody else on the grants team, happy to do that. But at this time, I think that's about all that we have. So your next steps would be to fill out our inquiry form, and then we will follow up with you with any questions and next steps moving forward with the full application if what you have outlined would meet the criteria for our grants this year. Addie, do you have anything else? If not, feel free to come off mute or put your questions in the chat. We're happy to ask those or answer those for you right now if you have a moment. Or feel free to email us. All right. Well, if no one has any further questions, we just want to thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to hearing from you soon. I know that many of you are knee-deep in applications and planning and trying to figure out what's going to be the best opportunity for you guys this summer. So we're here to help and support, and we look forward to working with you and supporting you as best we can. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and happy Valentine's Day tomorrow.